What's up guys, hope everyone is doing well. In this video I'm going to be going over some updates for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano. Also going to be talking about the DXY and the SPX towards the end of the video and just going over some things about decoupling and along those lines. But first off, here on the 15-minute chart for Bitcoin, here we can see, first off, for some perspective, if we go here to this 8-hour chart, you can see we're kind of just in what I believe to be a rounding out bottom. We're starting to see price round out. We're going to see momentum coil up towards the upside, I believe. Continue to go back up towards the $23,000, $24,000, $25,000 area. But we're actually right here on the 15-minute chart. So if we take a look and go back on here, we've seen ascending support so far right here as we keep bumping our head along this descending line right here, just in general around $20,000 approximately. Best case scenario, we need to see this just in general culminate in breaking above 20,000 and just in general finding support above 20,000, and as I said, seeing that momentum carry out towards 23, 24, and eventually break through 25,000. But also we could come down and test this curve once more. We could possibly come down back to this lower support line, this black dotted line right here, lining up with this sideways consolidation we got within this second red triangle formation. But then again, going back to this 8-hour right here, so if we do actually come back down to this around $19,200, and we do break below that, I'd have to say that it's probably going to be a pretty good likelihood that we will end up going lower than the 18,000, the lows we've set so far, and which would end up culminating in going down to as low as 12 to 10,000. But beforehand, we could possibly find support at around 16 to 14,000. But again, things do they're tending to lean to the upside right now, so I do think we'll see this momentum sustain itself and carry on out towards the upside. And taking that into consideration, there on those lower time frames, if we go here to the 2-day, we can see right here we got this macro M harmonic pattern right here down into this $17.5 thousand bottom. So far we've come into this larger W reversal right here. We also see a smaller W or double bottom right here along this pink arrow. You can see this has a negative slope, but the RSI, stock RSI, and the MACD are seeing a positive slope, indicating a bullish divergence within this more macro, or this more micro W within this larger W, as we're seeing as a consequence because of this macro M pattern right here. So seeing that, and as I said, we'll have to continue to see momentum sustain towards 23, 22, just $25,000, break above this this upper resistance curve, and then continue to see that momentum carry on out towards around $28,000 to $32,000. But again, if we do actually end up breaking towards the downside, we'll either, as I said, hit around 16 to 14,000 or as low as 12 to 10,000. More like this red path, we'll see a quick drop off to that, or we'll see some sort of a slow bleed off, more like this black path, to one of those two bearish target ranges. But outside of that, if we do, I'm assuming this has been our bottom, we're going to see this W carry on out. We'll reverse towards the upside. This should take Bitcoin to an all-time high sometime during the second half of next year. As I've been saying, around approximately $242,000 is where I personally think it will go, but just in general around $150,000 to $300,000, just to encompass the general, like the uppermost range it's likely to hit, assuming this is our bottom right here that we've seen at 17.5 thousand, and we're actually going to enter a next bull run for Bitcoin, all things considered. But here on Ethereum, so for Ethereum and Cardano, we're pretty much going to see the same structure. You'll see pretty much the same M patterns, and you'll see these this stock RSI to price correlation, this inverse correlation. See how price rounded out towards the upside, stock RSI rounded out towards the downside. Price is 80% down from all-time highs. Very fantastic historically. Those are good drawdowns to buy in on a more macro, longer term view. And along with that, again with this inverse correlation, we're seeing the stock RSI is kind of an acceleration, or just a momentum indicator in a way. Just kind of showing strength, leaning towards breaking above towards this upper range and carrying on this momentum that we're seeing kind of being hinted at with these W's and these M's that we're seeing that will then reverse into W patterns to just further carry on out these reversals towards the upside. If we do see that happen along with Bitcoin reversing, the next all-time high for Ethereum reasonably should be around $28,000 to $30,000, just according to how it behaved last time. Could possibly extend as high as $42,000, but just in general, for $28,000, $30,000 seems most reasonable. If perhaps we do go lower, it could go to around $500 to $700. If lower, around $300 up to around $450 or so. Here for Cardano, again, you'll see pretty much the same thing, same stock RSI correlation. You'll also see an M pattern, which I don't really have one drawn on here. This one differs the most, not necessarily the most, but just out of, when you look at Ethereum, this coin, and Bitcoin, this one looks the most different. You'll see this more macro M pattern right here that is then led into this general bottom, which we'll see just in general have a reversal towards the upcoming all-time high. But to go back towards this current bottom, you can still see the W bottom, or the double bottom formations leading into this M pattern right here, which is then making this smaller W, as I pointed out on Bitcoin and Ethereum. So odds are we'll kind of see this reverse towards the upside, looking at the stock RSI and how it's behaving down here. Could likely see Cardano during the same time frame, sometime second half of next year, hit a reasonable range of around 20 up to around $42. It could possibly extend around $64 to $72 at the highest, but this other latter range seems the most reasonable. If we do go lower, it could go down to around 25 cents, or around 18 to 12 cents, or around 12 to 7 cents at the lowest. If we take a look here at the DXY, we'll see up here we see an image of Bitcoin from the March crash onward. We'll see an inverse correlation. DXY is going down as Bitcoin is going up. As Bitcoin starts to reach 65,000, starts to get into this top and then going into this double top, we see the DXY starting to form this double bottom right here, then reverse itself as Bitcoin slowly starts to trickle towards the downside, beginning its bear market around November 2021. Takes us to where we are now. The DXY has printed a triple bearish divergence. You can see the price has had a drastic positive upper slope, but you can see the RSI is kind of starting to taper, more so in a curve on the RSI to the downside, which is why I have it drawn in like a fan. But you can take a look at the stock RSI and see it a little bit more clearly. Realistically, this is going to have a more of a severe correction at some point. And that will most likely correlate to the stock RSI breaking down into this lower range of the stock RSI to correlate with that. But if we take it to a higher time frame, take it to the monthly, you can see that the DXY is overall just seeming to have a negative, just a general overall downtrend. I think that's kind of just general. It comes from the fact that physical currencies, I think definitely just about all world currencies, fiat currencies, have been declining in recent times. The dollar hasn't seen it as much, but I think it's going to come to the dollar a lot slower because as the dollar being more of a global staple and just America's status and whatnot. But going back to the analysis, we could see along again with this bearish divergence we'll see a correction towards the downside as Bitcoin goes up, falling through this inverse correlation again right here around the second half of 2023. We'll see Bitcoin hit that top. We will see a correction from Bitcoin down until around 25, 26 as the DXY will go upwards. Could likely form a bearish divergence during this time. But just in general, Bitcoin will bottom out around 2025, 2026, and then it will begin its next bull run, which will take it all the way up to around 1 million, to around 1.382 million towards the end of this decade, around 2030 or 2032, according to the way that it has behaved so far in its current phase cycle system. And that should likely, I would believe, take logically the DXY down all the way back to test this basis, this descending line that has seemed to come back down to over quite a long period of time. We can also just take a look at it too, just in terms of M and W patterns. Looking at it something like this, we see an M for these bottoms that would then transition into this bull run we've seen up into our current time. We formed a W. We're going to have to then transition into an M, so we're going to see a bearish correction, I believe, back down to the descending baseline that the dollar is seeing. Just in general, probably correlating with the dying out of most fiat currencies and then the transitioning of them into blockchain alternatives such as CBDCs and other things that will have probably already that haven't been announced. Who knows what's down the pipeline. But if we take a look here at the SPX, we can see this another M macro M pattern. It started in 1996. It ended around 2009. The price target of this has already been culminated. It got hit at around end of last year, beginning of this year, around 2 to 2.36 times the height of the M pattern, similar to the other ones we've seen so far. But given this is a very long time in the making pattern that has now been hit, we could likely see pretty drastic correlation, probably something more than just coming down to these two moving averages, this cloud moving average right here, as we did pretty much every time since we started this bull run. But assuming we do see something like this, and given where Bitcoin is at right now, we'll see that Bitcoin reversal. Given how it looks, we'll actually see the SPX continue to go down as Bitcoin goes up. This could actually be like the first domino or the first string in a series of decoupling / coupling fragments between the SPX and Bitcoin, or just the traditional markets in Bitcoin. And by that I mean the decoupling could likely not necessarily happen like all at once. We could see over a period of time fragments of decoupling and then coupling back up, whereas we'll see the DXY, or not the DXY, but we'll see the SPX decouple from Bitcoin for a time, and then they'll couple back up. They'll decouple once more for a longer period of time, and then they'll couple back up, and then they'll decouple back for a third time, and that'll be the final time where they truly break away, and that would just ultimately culminate in pretty much the dying out of traditional fiat markets, traditional physical currencies, and then being transitioned into blockchain alternatives and the CBDCs and what, as I mentioned, and other alternatives that could be down the road. That was mostly all I really wanted to go over in this video, just as a general synopsis for Bitcoin, given that it's likely to become and is pretty much already definitely acting for the cryptocurrency market. Kind of just as a general fundamental store of values, you can see Cardano and Ethereum and just about all the other altcoins. You can see that they will carry out the same, at least very similar structure as Bitcoin, given that it does seem to be some sort of fundamental store of value. So whether or not we see Bitcoin break towards the upside is the question to be seen. We really need to see it hold around 20,000 and definitely break above 20,000 here on these lower time frames and continue this upward momentum towards the upside. That was about all that I really wanted to touch on in this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I hope you all have a blessed day.